Hello everybody, welcome back to the Games Done Quick channel and to the Games Done Quick Hotfix. Hope you're all having a lovely weekend or weekday, wherever this is finding you, whether on Twitch or on YouTube. Games Done Quick Hotfix, what is this? What do we do? Well, specifically on Going Places, one of the regular shows, we have a look at games that we can take on the go on portable consoles, handhelds, you know the sorts, as well as region-exclusive games that we can only find in particular areas of the world, or just ones that we, haven't been treated to. And yeah, honestly, we're in for a good show tonight. But before we, you can probably see them either side of me about what we're going to be getting today. Just a little bit of housekeeping. GDQ, we are just over a month away. Everything's going to be very exciting, especially Tuesday morning. You should definitely check that out. But prize submissions are live for Awesome Games Done Quick. And if you are crafty or have a unique gaming prize that you would like to submit, you can go to gamesdonequick.com for more information. And yeah, we mentioned it earlier. You can see this on Twitch. You're probably seeing this on Twitch right now. Hello, Twitch chat. But if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And join us whilst we're live, because this is where the fun is going down. And speaking of fun, I know somebody who only plays fun or funny games. We are going to be starting off this not really very themed episode. It's a little bit of a what do you call it? Fruit salad. It's a little bit of strange shenanigans. We're going to be starting off with Ghost Rider with Spectral Platypus, and then later on we are going to be treated to Baroque with Grimshins. But yeah, we're starting off with Spectral with Ghost Rider, and an absolutely fascinating loop on this menu screen. And this is the Nicolas Cage one. Somebody did ask in chat. This is the Nicolas Cage one. What do we have to say about the Nicolas Cage one, Ghost Rider?
It certainly is a video game. That's I'm going to leave it as a surprise.
Fantastic start.
It certainly plays like a game, looks like a game. Is it a fun game? We'll see about that. But this is the tie-in to the movie, the first movie, and I believe the story takes place as a continuation of the movie, but I'm not really sure what's actually going on in this game, so we'll have to find that out as I'm running through the game.
All right.
So I will go ahead and jump right in. The time will start when I select difficulty, and I'm going to give a countdown if you're ready.
We are ready when you are.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
So right off the bat, we start with the first level where we're supposed to be breaking out of jail, and our main movement options so far and combat options are very limited. We don't really have any power-ups, so we're largely going to be rolling our way through the levels. So if we have any Sonic fans here, you're going to find yourself right at home here in the first
I mean, this is just like Sega Sonic, breaking out of like a little room that you start in, and then...
Oh, now I know why I chose this game.
Yeah. It's so predictable. I'm a big fan of these combos that you're having in the bottom left, the different names for them.
And we will talk about the combos, actually. For each level, there is a combo counter that basically the game tries to... It's kind of an optional challenge if we get up to that level, but it's going to be very challenging for us to hit those combos early in the game, because our movement options, again, and combat options are basically just this one fist punch, and even most of our moves have not unlocked yet, so we really cannot do much but do this triple combo, and later on we will get more interesting moves, and by the second half of the game we're going to ditch this move entirely. Actually, we're going to start using our chain exclusively, but at the moment we really only have the fist and the roll. And one problem with the rolling is that Ghost Rider will try to face the enemies, and so if I don't explicitly hold the direction, he will roll back into the enemies back and forth, so that can be quite annoying early on, but we will get a dash pretty soon. And as you can see, I'm collecting these purple orbs, which are supposed to be basically the currency in the game. We have 3 different, we have the Vitality, which is our HP, and then we also have the Mana Bar, which is completely useless at the moment as we don't have any moves for it. But then purple orbs are our upgrade options that we are going to be using, and that's basically how rolling works in this game, as you may have just seen there. And oddly enough, the early game is basically where we have the most routing in terms of the level layout, and then the game kind of becomes painfully linear after a while, which is good for us because we don't want to spend too much time trying to, pick the optimal route, but the main optimization of the game, especially early game, comes from knowing where the waves of enemies will spawn and how to take them out as efficiently as possible. And ideally not fall into any of these gaps, because this game really has only one checkpoint per screen. Oh, speaking of screens, this is our first mini-boss fight. It's a painfully slow fight because we only have this one chain move that can really deal him a decent amount of damage. And hopefully he will not do his ground slam attack at all, and he will just keep kind of standing there.
This is just a Castlevania game at this point.
It really is, but we will see these guys again later in the game, and you'll want to pay attention to how fast it's going to go down once we get a few upgrades.
Okay.
So this is the first half of basically what the game has to offer in terms of content. This is the beat-em-up sections, and now we have the second half, effectively the second genre of gameplay, which is the motorbike sections. And the bike sections are, I believe this developer actually worked on Road Rash for Game Boy Advance, so that expertise definitely came into play here. It plays very much like that game as well. And these levels are quite interesting. So it basically breaks down into these sections of going on the road, and we're going to be holding boost the entire time to go fast. And actually in the biking sections, instead of combos, or rather the combo meter is determined by how long you hold the boost button. And we really want to hold that down as long as possible to get the highest combo bonus at the end of each level, which gives us the most orbs. And that's basically how we're going to be able to upgrade our abilities as fast as possible in the game. But
vengeance.
And that's actually the highest combo level you can get, so we don't really need to hold it down anymore. But actually, even though it's a very minute amount of speed, it does add up throughout an entire run when I timed it. Not much, but... And for the enemies, the way enemies work in these sections are a little interesting. So I try to avoid meleeing them too much because they are very good at stun locking Ghost Rider and dealing huge amounts of damage when they're in the melee range. Instead, I basically just try to shoot them with orbs as early as possible. And while the enemies are on screen, the game actually doesn't progress. The level will kind of just put the player and the enemies in a straight road. And it will kind of infinitely loop until all the enemies are clear. So we want to take them out as fast as possible. And here we have the first and the only mini-boss fight, actually, of the driving sections. He doesn't really bring much to the table. He just kind of runs. An exhilarating fight.
Never really stood a chance, did he?
No, he really doesn't. If you boost up to him, he doesn't have enough time to throw a rock at you. He's supposed to be throwing rocks at you and just, being a menace, but the real danger of these sections are actually the obstacles more than anything else. They deal huge amounts of damage and completely slow your momentum or your speed, so... But luckily, we are
nicely done.
We are back in... We're back in these sections, and we actually got a new ability, the air chain, and it's gonna become our bread and butter DPS move later on. But right now it's not particularly useful, so we're gonna be sticking with the punches. These birds can be a bit of a menace if they refuse to die. I don't know how hitboxes work in this game. Sometimes you deal half damage, sometimes you deal full damage. But some moves, like the air chain, for instance, has additional hitboxes, and if you position yourself correctly, you can deal extra hits to the enemy, which can be very helpful. And we will see that again in the next section. This first section ends up being a fairly, just a lot of rolling, really. So routing, we were talking about that earlier, but here, for instance, we have two routes we can take. There's top and bottom. And if you take the bottom route, you basically go into a dead end and you have to go through two, unskippable fights for no reason. So that's where, again, the routing can save a ton of time. And generally, this is how this game works. It has a lot of dead ends in a lot of the levels that will just waste your time. And the orbs you get in-game don't really contribute nearly as much as the orbs you get at the end of a level. So even grinding orbs doesn't really help all that much throughout the levels.
Rolling around in the gates of hell. Got places to go, gotta follow my rainbow? Not quite, not quite. What was it that got you into this game, Spectral? Because you speedrun a fair array of different games. They've all got their different quirks to them. Was there anything particular
I mean, the
in this
common
game
link is probably that none of them are very good games, but okay, well, there's Sega Sonic, I guess, which is probably a decent game for what it's worth. But
that's all right.
I actually had this game, the cartridge for this game, and I played it as a kid, and I can't say it left a good impression on me, but I kind of want to see what the speedrunning scene is like, and I noticed there wasn't a whole lot of love for this game. Like, there are a couple people who played the game, but they didn't really like stick to it in the long term. And I want to see if there was anything left still to be cracked in this game in terms of speed strats. And yeah, there were quite a few things, so we're going to see them in the later levels. This section is kind of barren in terms of skips and glitches, but we do have a few. I hope I'll be able to showcase some of those.
So it didn't leave a good impression, but it left an impression.
Yeah, I can say that for most of the games I speedrun, though.
Yeah, I kind of feel you on that. It's, you know, going back to games that, you know, we might have played when we were younger, and, you know, just making them quite easy and speedy. So it's a good feeling.
We're gonna get our first upgrade here, which is gonna be the chain power 2. It's not gonna help a whole lot, but this fight is gonna be slightly faster.
Oh yeah, that health bar's going down. And it's that music track again.
Yep. Luckily later on the music will break quite frequently, breaking up the monotony of the boss music. And he was kind to us this time and didn't waste a ton of time doing his ground slam attack, which takes a lot of time and it can deal a lot of damage if you get stuck in its hitbox. Where's that bird going? Okay.
Is that a bird or is that a bat?
Good question. Let's meet in the middle and say it's a phoenix.
All right, we can do that.
There's a pit in the middle of the screen, this particular area, which is very scary because, again, in this game, you go back to the beginning of a screen. So if we die and fall into that pit, we go all the way back to that boss fight, which is really not fun. And the same thing applies with the biking levels. Those actually have no checkpoints at all. So a death in the bike levels is basically kind of kills the run because you have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Luckily, they are pretty straightforward, except for the very final section of the game, the circus.
Oh, this Nicolas Cage guy's got moves.
Yeah, so the air chain move we
how to do
have,
it.
Nicolas Cage can suspend himself in the air, and that's who we are playing as, I guess, at least since this is a movie tie-in. But we are at our first major boss fight at the end of the hell section, and we're going to be breaking out of hell with this. We're going to be fighting Vengeance, who is...
This is cool.
I am not very familiar with Ghost Rider lore, but he kind of looks like a discount bargain bin version of Ghost Rider. You'll see.
Okay.
First, we have a complementary wave of enemies, and then the fight will start very soon. I'll try to line up some shots here early on. He really doesn't pose much of a threat.
I'm very amused by his noises
grunts,
that he makes when he's getting hit.
Even in the main menu of this game, when you're selecting levels, it keeps making that grunt for some reason. It's kind of like the default menu sound.
It's like the gunshots in Shadow the Hedgehog. They just seem really out of place and obtuse.
Now we are out of hell and we are in this abandoned town for reasons And we're gonna have some new enemies. These guys wielding blade arms. They can be a little annoying at times because they can block your hits. And if they block you, then you have to grab them to basically break them out of their block state. But otherwise, we are pretty much going to be just rolling through this level. But we do have our dash move now. The only downside of the dash is that it cannot go through enemies, so we will want to switch back to rolling at times. We also have another skill now that's unlocked, which is our Vengeance mode. So the mana bar will finally come in handy. And what the Vengeance bar does, especially once we upgrade our chain attack, is it basically puts us in like a super mode that deals more damage to the enemies. And according to the manual of this game, it's also supposed to make us flinch free, but it doesn't really do that.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't offer any insight when it comes to why we're just in an abandoned town of sorts. I know, other than, you know, the incredible reviews that the film's got, I know nothing about the Ghost Rider series. Maybe somebody in chat will be able to give us some insight, but all I know is Nicolas Cage, Funny Ghost Man. Ooh, is this the Vengeance?
This is the Vengeance mode, and it does deal a fair bit of damage, especially once we upgrade our chain. Most enemies will go down in one hit in the Vengeance mode, which is amazing. Because the number of enemies will basically increase exponentially as we go through levels, and that's the only way that really makes this game like manageable. From also HP management, it hasn't quite come up yet, but Ghost Rider can get stun locked very easily by the enemies, and once we get faster enemies on screen, any combat can easily drain your HP like instantly almost by a flurry of attacks because we don't have iframes. Ghost Rider, being a ghost, does not need iframes.
Right, I'm going to call up my good friend Wikipedia and we're going to get a synopsis of this film.
That has...
Wait, it was a Marvel character?
He is a Marvel character, that's right.
I had no idea.
But for reasons beyond me, after the movie, they just kind of shelved off Ghost Rider. They didn't really want them around any of the IPs again, it seems. I couldn't tell you why, though.
I reckon it's probably because Nicolas Cage left such a good impression. They were like, you know, we can't give this role to anybody else, and he doesn't want to do it anymore. So
yeah, that's actually it's got to be makes a lot more sense. All right, now we are done with the first stage of the ghost town.
Nice.
And we are back to another exhilarating biking section.
Lovely.
I kind of like that everyone sticks to the theme and all the enemies are also are on their own like motorcycles. Like nobody's, you know. Everyone got the memo.
Oh my gosh, this plot is long on the Wikipedia page. The first sentence is already putting my head in a spin. The demon Mephistopheles, okay, yeah, no, we can get our head around that, sends his bounty hunter of the damned, the Ghost Rider, to retrieve the contract of San Venganza for control of 1,000 corrupt souls. That's what we're doing. Or maybe we're trying to get out of, well, we are getting out of hell this time. Maybe we're just trying to get home after the events of the first film.
I paid attention to the introduction, or like the intro cutscene, if you could call it cutscene, slideshow of the game, and Mephisto gives orders to Ghost Rider, but in the end we go kill him anyway, so I don't really know what's going on.
Who is running the underground? Maybe we'll never know.
But now we also have an additional mechanic in these sections. We have to slide under some of the obstacles, and that works some of the time when the game feels like it. But if you don't slide under those obstacles, they deal a decent chunk of HP, so they can be quite painful. And one strategy that I deploy a lot in these sections is I actually come to a complete stop, and that basically ensures the enemies cannot get behind me, because if they get behind you, they'll try to ambush you, which wastes a ton of time. And as I said, when you're in these enemy fighting sequences, the game actually doesn't progress the track itself. So going slow doesn't really have any other repercussion as long as you can take the enemies out fast enough.
Okay.
So it's kind of counterintuitive for a speed game, but to go fast, you need to go slow in this game at times. Alright, so we are back into our fighting sequences, but now we are going back indoors to the mines of the ghost town. First, we're gonna upgrade our L chain attack. And I think we should get the health upgrade too as well. So from here on out, what we're gonna do is, and that was one of the big changes I discovered, was we are really trying to race to get to a point where we can deal the most amount of damage with our air chain, as that's kind of the most powerful move in the game, even though I don't think it's supposed to be. There are much flashier moves. But there are two ways of going about that. One is upgrading it to level 3, which takes around 40,000 orbs, or we can upgrade it to level 2 and then upgrade our chain fully, which only takes 20,000 orbs. So that was one of the big routing changes that happened to this game, was basically discovering that there is a faster alternative to getting level 3 chains.
Okay.
And these enemies are being awful and blocking most of my attacks.
It wouldn't be a platformer without a nice elevator section, or a fighter. Like, games, brawlers love a good elevator section where you've got enemies coming out of nowhere you got to deal with.
I think we have 3 more in this game, so I'm glad you like them.
You know, I felt like if you can pop out of anywhere, why would you take an elevator? Like, just ambush him at the bottom or something, I don't know.
Alright, so that was our first skip, believe it or not. There was a fight at the bottom of that sequence, and by doing that air chain move right at the bottom of that, I guess, ledge or what have you, you can skip that fight. And there's going to be 2 more fights we can skip the same way, by basically doing air chain as we are dropping into them. That, for some reason, advances the camera and allows us to sneak into the area without actually triggering the fight, which can save a considerable amount of time, seeing how fights take a while in this game, especially this early on. And here's our second elevator sequence.
Let's go. We going up or we going down? Let's see. Well, we're not getting anywhere to start with. So.
Yes, because that guy is just indefinitely blocking. Okay.
Rude. We going up?
This elevator is a bit kinder comparatively, because it spawns birds or the phoenixes, and the phoenixes actually give us blue orbs, which reheals our mana. So another, I guess, important thing now that we have the vengeance mode is managing your enemies so that you can kind of keep the chain going with the vengeance mode. Now we have a new elemental who is incredibly annoying. He will keep doing the slam attack, which will waste a ton of time. Ideally, we want to like overlap with his body and do these hits right on top of his head, which will deal him double damage.
Oh, nice.
And that went a lot smoother than it can. If you stand behind him while he's doing the ground attack, he will just run off the screen and then wait there for 30 seconds. I don't know why he does that. He'll just do a timeout, and that will teach you not to get behind him again.
Ooh, are we back in random town?
Yes, we are in random town. Now this time we're going to be going alongside a train. So this game is really pulling out all the tropes of like a beat 'em up game, you know, going on a train cart or like a long vehicle. You got them all.
It's gonna happen.
And there are no shortages of these elementals. Again, I really don't want to be behind him because he will run off screen and wait there for quite some time.
Oh, this big angry bloke. Ooh, whack. Nice.
Yeah, his hitbox is rather large on that fist, which makes it a bit tricky at times. Actually, while I'm here, I'm gonna upgrade my chain power to 3, and then the next upgrade 4 is gonna completely break the game, but until then, we're gonna be still using our fist and the chain in combination.
Nice. I was about to say that it's pretty handy that, you know, the orbs are just a screen thing. Like, you don't have to go over and pick them up.
Yeah,
They're
they just
sort of
even if
magnetized to
you
you.
like clear a screen, they will catch up to you in the next screen.
Yeah, that's super handy.
And with this move, if you actually do it at like almost the ground level, your body becomes an active hitbox as well. So you can deal an extra hit to the enemies that didn't get hit by the original impact. So that can be quite useful, knowing how the hitboxes work in each of these moves, which luckily we only need to know 2 of them, but... Let's dash for a change.
Nice.
And most of our major boss fights, as well, this one in this level against Lilith, I believe, are all motorcycle. There's only one exception to that, the Scarecrow, which is basically, I think, just a reskin fight with the demon guy, the claw guy, but that's okay. And this fist move that I'm using all the time, the fist combo, can actually be upgraded to have multiple hits, and it can be used to clear some of these enemies a bit faster. But again, we really want to get the chain upgrade as soon as possible, so we, again, take a bit of a time sacrifice there to be able to go fast here now.
I'm sure this boss theme, before it, you know, was condensed for a Game Boy Advance, is a really good track. It's so grating to hear it from the audio, like from the hardware. It isn't getting anywhere near enough fidelity than it should.
Yeah, it really does sound like just deep fried. I mean, it's a lo-fi experience at this point, but
yeah.
I know there's a PS2 game, I believe, which is supposed to be a good game. I mean, I wouldn't say this one is a bad game, but I don't know if I would call it a good game either. But we are at the end of section 2, believe it or not. We are almost out of the ghost town here. We're going to be fighting Lilith, who is, I'm sure, an important Ghost Rider villain. Oops.
Probably,
just ran into
maybe.
that cactus, which you don't want to do, but this fight is pretty free, so it's okay. And we're going to waste a few shots before we start the fight, actually.
Oh,
because
okay.
we will run out of shots, and the game will only spawn new ammo when we actually run out, so we don't want to skip any time while she's in her vulnerable phase, so to speak. I hope you're liking the incessant groaning from all the characters.
This is it's certainly something.
And actually, I'm holding brake the entire time because for some reason holding the brake like makes her stay below a bit longer, so she only does one phase of this attack where she's hovering over the train cart or the locomotive and, you know, shooting orbs, and that's it. That was the Lilith fight. Oh. Great fight.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like this game PS2 and PSP as well as the GBA, which is an interesting mix of consoles, but in fairness, 2007, this was near the end of like the GBA's lifespan, so interesting. It's an interesting range.
So we are about to meet some of the worst enemies in this game, the ninjas, and this entire section is going to be largely ninjas. With ninjas, even though our damage output is not as high, I'm going to be largely using the chain, one because they are not as tanky as the other enemies, but they attack very fast. So if you get stuck between 2 ninjas, there is a very high chance that you're going to get stun locked to death within seconds. But again, some of the ninjas will yield blue orbs, which is again very nice of them. Like these fellas right here. We're gonna take the bottom route here, do a little flashy uppercut move or diving jump punch move. That is the only place where it comes in handy, so I hope you enjoyed that aerial attack. Again, if you get stuck between two ninjas, the only thing you can do is roll out of the way. Like, you cannot fight them. They will stun lock you. They are a lot faster than Nicolas Cage when it comes to melee combat.
At least they're dressed up fancy.
They are, and there are many color combinations with these ninjas, as you will see.
Ooh.
Oh, I probably shouldn't have used the Vengeance mode there. There were only 2 of them, but that's okay.
I don't like the shade of green that they're going for. It's not very in at the moment.
No. I would say the same thing for the red ones as well, and they're also kind of particularly mean.
Ooh, oh well, double whammy.
As you can see, now we're just getting stun locked. In later levels where the ceiling is lower, birds can, or the phoenixes I guess, can become quite the menace because hitting them will spike you immediately.
Ooh.
Alright. Should get this. And here are the mean red ninjas.
Yeah, they're not even, I mean, they're mean and they're not even quite red, are they? They're sort of
it's
kind of maroony, burgundy.
Burgundy, yeah. Let's go with burgundy. It's kind of a lighter color too, but
nice. Yeah, this certainly does have a lot of tropes of 2D brawler games.
Alright, so we have this guy again for like 10th time. This will go down a bit quicker, ideally, if he doesn't run away too much. Alright, there we go. Now that we have the chain level 3, we definitely make a bit more of a dent, and it's going to get only crazier as we get... I think actually we just have enough points now to upgrade the chain level 4, but we don't have to do that just yet, as we have one more, another bike section.
Ooh,
and
nice.
ninjas will be just as awful here as they are in the main game. They take 5 hits, whereas most other enemies tend to take 3, and if you stay behind them too long, they start leaving a trail of flames. And this is the point where I really start using the break move quite heavily, because they like to get behind you and start stun locking you with a flurry of melee attacks. Melee is, in the biking sections at least, is quite situational. Sometimes they will just move up to you, and as you can see, I can't even get a hit on him. So going slow ironically makes you go faster by clearing the waves and moving on with the level.
Are we dealing with any kind of slippy physics here? Because there's somebody needs to clear up this road, not for just all the hazards, but
actually,
like, are we on some water in the middle?
We are, but we don't really have anything that pertains to ice or slippery physics. The controls are actually quite responsive, I would say, but there are some parts of certain tracks that actually just give you a speed penalty, like they're considered off-road, even though you're literally in the middle of the road. So knowing which tracks cause that is also helpful, and just to avoid them.
With all of the dudes that you've been fighting at the end of stages, somebody was asking in chat, are they all the same one that keeps on getting resurrected, or are they like different guys?
I think they're just minions of the different demons that we fight at the end of each level, so I don't think they're getting resurrected. I think they have a pretty large surplus of them, and they're just kind of throwing them our way, is what I would think.
They had an offer on them at the Dark Store.
But seeing how most enemies stick to the themes of undead and, you know, demons and whatnot, seeing ninjas in the middle of the game is kind of interesting. And later on, we will also have clowns and thugs, so that's kind of the point where maybe they just kind of started pulling out all the, you know, throwing everything they have.
Oh, yeah, I wonder if they have, like, if there were any other projects by this developer. Oh, that was a good Good score at the end there. If there are any other projects by the developers that are just like, yeah, we have some spare sprites, let's just throw some clowns in there.
And I believe I here will get, okay, I'll get these 3 upgrades. I'm only getting health 3 upgrade because of the next boss fight, because he likes to be awful at times and deal a ton of damage, which will do a pretty short work of Nicolas Cage here. But actually we now have the chain level 4, so a lot of enemies will go down a lot quicker, especially in the vengeance mode. We'll be basically just decimating these enemies, and that's kind of why we wanted to save our points as much as possible. So from now on, the fist combo, or hell fist, I think everything is called hell in this game, but hell fist, as opposed to the air hell chain, is going to be our go-to move. As you can see, that's basically the difference between having level 3 and 4. And I think we might be coming to the end of all the ground elementals, I believe they're called, those Claymen.
Nice. Well, before you got into that fight with that one, I was getting down with that music. That was really starting to show some promise, and then we, had the boss theme again. Going too fast, Spectral.
That is true, yeah. We can sandbag a bit if we miss a skip or 2 here. Actually, we have 1 skip in this level at the very end. It's significant, but it's quite hard to get, and unfortunately for a game with very sparse tricks, you only get 1 shot in every single one. It's kind of unfortunate. As you can see, even after the move, you can deal damage to the enemies if you're colliding with them in that particular move only, but it's very convenient.
Well, whilst that might not be, taking the most advantage of, what the GBA could do, it's not a bad-looking game. It's nice to see what details are put into different things, like the animated HUD on top left, top right.
That is true, and actually, the 3D sections are, I guess, kind of impressive. I don't know, there were a lot of other games in GBA that did, similar tricks, so I don't know if this one really stands out in that sense. This is one of...
Was that a fight skip that I saw you do?
No, the game just forgot to trigger the combat audio. We didn't skip anything other than the music, but we will be doing a fight skip very soon, actually, or try it at least.
Okay.
But yeah, these audio skips, if you will call them, will start happening quite frequently, so... Nice, we got it. Okay, that was very close, but yeah, that's a very lengthy fight that we just skipped as well. At this point, you might be wondering what's going in the game, or what where the story is taking us, and that would make 2 of us. Oh yeah, remember this guy? He's back for, one more round of combat, but he's not bringing anything new to the table, so I'll make quick work of him. Alright, this next boss is Blackout, and this is realistically the only boss in the game that could, take us out and waste a whole bunch of time, and he's pretty much the only reason I got the health 3 upgrade. We don't really need it necessarily, but sometimes he will activate an Ultra Instinct and start pulling a lot of DPS for no reason.
Another good sound.
Yep. Sounds strikingly similar to Vengeance, but that's okay. He's very similar to Vengeance in terms of the boss fight, except he deals a lot more damage and he's a lot more aggressive. He's been kind to us so far, but now that we enter the turn section, that could change, and he already took half our health, but that went well, all things considered.
Well, Spectral, you knew more than me, certainly. The fact that this is like a Marvel thing. Alongside this, I'm sure you would love to see this, return, maybe get a reboot. There any other Marvel stuff? I just have it on my mind because didn't, Game Awards yesterday, was there Blade that was getting a new game?
I believe.
I think that looked really cool. I know it didn't really show any gameplay, but it seemed kind of neat.
And I think I was watching it with some friends, and we were joking how it looks like Blade, and we just could not believe when they actually showed it as Blade. It's oh, really?
Nice. I know it was a bit of a sort of mayonnaise game awards. A lot of people really liked it. A lot of people were a bit like, it's kind of what, but that seemed neat. The Sega stuff always cool as well.
That is true, actually. But, yeah, that's pretty hype. Seeing games like Crazy Taxi make a comeback.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they will see this Ghost Rider game and tell themselves, yeah, this needs a reboot. This needs to be realized, with ray tracing. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I actually,
I mean, you can make a really this is it seems fairly solid, nothing exceptionally good, but also not necessarily a bad game. You could make a really, really good brawler, maybe
I'm
2.5D
pretty
kind of thing.
sure the reviews for this game generally kind of amounted to, at least it's not the PSP version, which was apparently pretty bad, but the PS2 version was actually supposed to be a very good game.
Oh, okay.
It's, I think, supposed to draw a lot of influences from God of War or Devil May Cry, so it's a bit more of a combo-based 3D combat game, and apparently it's a well-made game.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Usually these waves of enemies are a lot more challenging when you are on a curvature, because even though the orbs follow the trajectory that you fire them in, or the road's curvature, it just makes it hard to visualize them, at least for me.
Nice.
But until the final section, the circus, a lot of these levels are just kind of padding time. They become kind of scary in the circus level because there will be much tighter turns and a lot more enemies, and they can, especially the obstacles, can deal a ton of damage.
Are we approaching a big city, or are we amongst a big city now?
We are in a city, yeah. We will be seeing a lot of kind of destroyed buildings, but there isn't really much explanation as to why this city just completely, got obliterated the way it did. Demons, I presume. That's a safe bet with this game.
If you don't know the answer, just, it's probably demons.
But yeah, all the cutscenes that we are seeing are only for instance, this area, if we stay to the middle of the road here, we will take a massive speed penalty, and I don't really know, I guess it's supposed to be a railway track, or some kind of streetcar track.
Interesting.
These side ones are pretty inconsistent. We'll usually bonk them. I know in one of the later levels in the Viking section, it's right at the very end of the level, and you can take a death to it, but you will still pass the level because you hit the trigger for the end level.
Okay.
Ouch. I think we're almost at the end of this level. There shouldn't be far more to this level, and then we're gonna have 4-3, which is an exciting level because we should have one of our first, I wouldn't even call it a big skip, but it's a mini boss skip.
Ooh, okay.
But that's gonna be at the very end of the level, so that's still a bit ways off. I swear he was saying vengeance flows through my veins, but apparently it flows through his mind now, so I don't know if he has alternatives or if that's just me, having a bit of a Mandel effect.
I mean, does he have blood? Or is he just a skeleton? I don't know.
With a name like Johnny Blaze,
is just a skeleton.
It's kind of on the nose a little, but yeah.
I don't think he has a nose, actually.
Touche yet again.
Yeah, I can see why the upgrades are pretty important here. I'm the kind of person that would forget that you can do upgrades, so I'd probably just struggle through most of this game. But yeah, definitely handy for the speedrun by the looks of things.
It's kind of interesting how level 3 for chain has no perceptible change, whereas 4 just breaks the game. Like, it's very skewed that way. But the really unfortunate thing is, at least in my opinion, that the bike sections don't really benefit from any of these upgrades. So you're always stuck with the same amount of, like, you know, damage output and everything. So that I think could have been handled a bit better if we had upgrades for the biking sections, so they would go a bit faster as well. Okay, I'm just gonna create vengeance. And I believe this level, section 4 is the longest section of this game, because after the city we will go into a arbitrary church, and then we're gonna fight a whole bunch there as well.
Okay. There's no way. Wow, so apparently the studios that developed this game, British game developer based not too far away from where I grew up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and by the looks of it, they played a part with one of the Silent Hill games. Well, a couple of the Silent Hill games.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is interesting.
They probably have it higher up on their LinkedIn than, you know, Ghost Rider for Game Boy Advance. But
oh, I mean, I imagine if they have a website now, that's probably all they'll post on there, because, you know, it's so good.
Oh, he did something I've never seen him do before. That's cool, I guess. But there you go, that's the boss skip. At least I got to do the backup. If you jump 4 times and then fling your chain, he just leaves. I don't know, he just does. That's his cue to leave. He is casually a bit of an awful fight, because for most of the fight he is invulnerable. He only can be damaged after he attacks you, which can be quite time-consuming for speedrun purposes. But I'm glad we were able to just get him to leave.
Someone in chat was curious about the Silent Hill involvement from the studio that worked on this game. Silent Hill Origins and Silent Hill Shattered Memories, supposedly. So, yeah, big ups to them, I suppose.
It's near impossible to hit these thugs with melee, because they will just unlock you. They're very fast. So it's going slow for us.
Yeah, I fear that a lot of the budget of this game didn't go into the soundtrack. I apologize to any developers who might be looking at it now, but I don't know, maybe it would grow on me over time, but just first impressions, I ain't feeling it too hard right now.
It was another game, I believe it was one of the Tiger handheld games, where we by rule allow muting the audio, because, like, I mean, it's nice to be able to verify the game audio, but nobody is willing to sit through that. It's like a 5-second loop that, like, also is tied to the frame rate at like 1 hertz.
What if somebody splices the RAM for a Tiger handheld game? Ooh, getting those ducks, very nice.
Yeah, those ducks are flashy, that's for sure. And actually, this section is going pretty well so far, because again, we have a lot of enemies. They can decide to be awful and keep ambushing you, and if they get behind you, they won't kind of go back to the same line they were in. They will, like, kind of cross across the level. And as you can see, this is where we can get the speed penalty, and it makes killing these guys quite easy.
That's what it sounded like. There was a little part in that track there that sounded like the CD drive bay to a Dreamcast when it's like when it's really working. I'm sure some folks understand.
And I'm gonna go ahead and just get all the upgrades because chain level 3 actually doesn't seem to be a very perceptible difference at this point. The air chain or the air hell chain, I don't remember, but it actually seems to deal more damage to the bosses only. So it's gonna come in handy when we fight Mephisto at the very end of the game. And I guess the Scarecrow fight as well at the end of this section. Well, not this level, but this section. This is the longest section. I believe it's 7 levels as opposed to the usual 5. And I kind of forgot to mention that the enemies that we are fighting now are thugs. So we have demonic thugs. Now you might be thinking they're just thugs, but I looked at the manual and they, it's explicitly implied that they are demonic.
Someone's wondering, I did just miss it, but what was that? Some Comic Sans on the hotel?
We'll have to pay attention. I hope we'll see more of them, but it might have been, honestly. I wouldn't put it past this game, but we are going to be going indoors after this level, so it's a shame if we missed it.
I mean, I would stay at a hotel or motel that use Comic Sans. That's a sure sign of
between Papyrus
quality,
and Comic Sans, which one would you prefer to see in the wild? Like,
well, did you say Papyrus?
Yeah, Papyrus and Comic Sans.
Oh, I think it depends on the environment. Like, Comic Sans maybe in a big city and get down with that, or like maybe somewhere rural, like out in the country. Papyrus, I don't know, it'd have to be somewhere quite exotic for me to be like, oh yeah, I can trust this.
Alright, so we want to make sure to stay on the top level here. This is not a Sonic speedrun, but the top route ends up being faster, all the same.
No comment.
Oh. But also, we end up skipping 2 like completely skippable fights. Otherwise, again, once you're in their trigger, you can't really break out. And
okay.
Incidentally, this is going to be right after this section. We're going to have our final fight trigger skip, which is actually the easiest one. So I'm glad that's coming up very shortly. Quite easy. If you do air chain here, you just completely skip over the fight, and it actually saves a quite bit of time because then we get to use our vengeance mode here instead, and this fight will go a lot quicker. Because this is actually a pretty relatively longer phase, as this is the final wave of this level. Alright, I don't believe we have any more Viking levels in this section, but we do have... This is supposed to be a bit of an endurance round, I guess, before we fight Scarecrow, the boss of this section.
Bit of an arena.
Yeah, of sorts, and it's nice that the game gives us a bunch of birds early on so we can fill up our mana bar, because we'll have a few phases and we'll go a lot faster again in vengeance mode.
Nice.
And also helps with lag reduction a little bit. There's a lot of...
I was about to say, some of that screen tearing was a criminal.
Yeah, late game, the game will just start spawning so many clowns, especially. Like, it's kind of awful if you don't manage all the lag or all the enemies on the screen. Nope, getting stun locked. How is that bird still alive? Alright, and now we should be at the boss fight, Scarecrow.
Was a great scene. That was a really funny thumbnail. He's just standing there.
This game definitely has pretty good cutscenes, but too bad we have to skip them. We're going fast.
Nah.
And we are not getting any mana for this fight, which is unfortunate, but here's Scarecrow. You can deal double damage to him by facing away from him. That just kind of works somehow. And that's the Scarecrow fight.
Nice.
I think that's where the chain starts and ends. It ends up like coinciding exactly where his head is, so, because you can only damage him in his, if you hit his head. Oh, there we go. I don't know why I was not skipping that cutscene there. So Circus, awful level. A lot of enemies. Luckily, a lot of them give mana, but they can deal damage even as they're walking too. You see how they're like flipping the little hatchets they're carrying? That still has active hurt bugs, which is not great. And the biggest danger in this level, more than the clowns themselves, is not falling off one of these. Ooh, that was very close.
Oh yeah, you were not lying about these clowns. There are quite a few.
And I'll try to not stick too far to the right of the level, because I know in one of these fights, if you stick to the right corner of the level, like the stage, it will soft lock.
Oh,
Amazing game, yeah, I know. It wouldn't be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be one of my speedrun choices if it didn't have like a soft lock in the middle of it for no reason. Yeah, this is the one actually. This is where I stick to the left, so I don't end up resetting the level for no reason. Okay, there we go. We got the arrow. So we want to stay between the enemies when we're doing the air chain for the most parts, because if you hit them through other enemies, it seems to reduce the damage somehow. Like you can see that green clown just got up. But if you land between enemies and if they attack you, again, you will get soft locked. So it's a bit of a fine balance trying to. And that was the new mini boss.
wow.
Yep. If you're lucky, if you miss that initial setup, then he just ends up being awful, because when he does his slam attack, he will also like tuck his head in and you can't get to him anymore.
I assume they get more difficult as time goes on, but you keep on powering up, so it's still easy, or are they pretty much like copy and paste for the whole thing?
So that was a new variant, and can be a bit more difficult, but I think by the time we got the chain level 4 upgrade, we kind of threw all balancing out the window. Like, we are just way too powerful for the enemies of this game at this point, so we're really just optimizing the fights at this point. Also, shoutouts to the clowns. Unlike all the other enemies, they are not using motorbikes, they're using bicycles. They're just pedaling very fast.
Wow. So on the power scale, these guys are pretty high.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I think all the enemies
really
and all the
are.
characters, including Ghost Rider, is like a servant of like a higher demon, so that's how Ghost Rider I think gets his powers. But clowns, I guess they kind of chose pedaling speed as their power up, and that's what they got.
I mean, it'd be pretty handy to have, I guess. Either that or very special bikes. Very special bicycles. They've definitely got a horn on the front that goes like,
Again, there are a lot more obstacles in these levels than the previous ones. For the most part, since we have the health power up, health level 3, it shouldn't be deadly, but it can waste a ton of time, and can just be inconvenient more than anything. And if they wouldn't keep... Alright, there we go. We're actually fast approaching the end of the game. There's only 3 more levels left, and that's one beat 'em up, one, you know, cycling level, and then a very short boss fight since we have all the power-ups. And the ninjas are back. Actually, I believe in the next level we're going to see a lot of familiar faces. Kind of everyone kind of makes one last comeback to, you know, greet us off before we go see Mephisto.
Oh, the whole gang.
Oh yeah, remember this guy?
Oh, he's getting slapped again.
It's interesting that they decided to kind of put him back at the end of the game. He doesn't really pose any kind of challenge, but, you know, he's there. The zombies are back. But again, they are not really like scaled, so they are pretty easy enemies. And actually, we should have another familiar face here. And that's our second Abigor fight, and luckily for us, she decided to go off screen again. Actually, how that works is when she's fighting us, she basically goes off screen for a bit and then just comes crashing down and try to deal damage. But if we happen to be at the peak of our height, she goes way too far up and the game just despawns her. But unfortunately, we cannot do that with the other enemies, even though we can force them off screen. It just ends up being an annoying time loss more than anything. They don't seem to go far enough to actually like get despawned somehow. As you can see, I'm getting stuck between the birds and the clowns, which is always great.
It's interesting introducing a wild mechanic, a slope in the ground.
Oops, that's danger zone. Okay, now the clowns are rolling too. That's new.
That's what I say. They put on a fight.
Picking up new tricks.
Don't mess with the clowns.
But yeah, without the power-ups, I think even in the easiest difficulty, which is what I'm running on right now, clowns can be quite the menace. Just because even their walk animation has active hurt bugs. Oops. Alright.
So Spectral, you mentioned that you picked this up because, you know, it's a game that you played when you were younger, and you're like, oh yeah, let's give this a go. Was there anything to sort of push you over the edge, I suppose, or did you feel like, oh, okay, I think it's time that I finally picked this on?
I don't know what made me pick this game up, especially because like there is the PS2 version, which seems to be a much better choice, you know, as an enjoyable game, but. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of remember this game exists. I guess I found my cartridge and I was like, you know, I should check it out. And I realized Leaderboard had a few runs, so it, like especially like the Avigor skip that we just did for that air elemental fight, that was known. But I was kind of I was interested to find out that there was like other skips and other optimizations, and other than that, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the most exhilarating game as far as speedruns go. It doesn't really keep you on your toes, but it's still I mean, especially if you like long games, it's actually quite uncharacteristic for me because most of my runs, like the games I run, are under half an hour. So this game, just a little over an hour, is fairly long, at least for my standards. But it's therapeutic, I guess, in a way.
Wow, talking about Ghost Rider being therapeutic, that's well, it's a big claim, that.
Was that not your takeaway from watching this run? Did you not say, yeah, I could run this?
Not quite. I mean, you're showing that it isn't the hardest thing to learn.
No, it really isn't, but
a little harder to master, but yeah, it looks fairly accessible as far as games go.
This is the only section where if you hit one of these poles and you insist on holding boost, they will drain your health very fast, but that's over with. But this, again, is really the only level where you can actually die to all the obstacles and go back to the beginning of the level. But we just finished the level right here. We're going to be going to the final boss fight right here. The time will be at the end of the fight when the saving game screen pops up, and that's going to be pretty soon, so I want to get ready on the timer. And that was the final boss fight of the game. Exhilarating, I know.
Nice.
And time.
GG.
Alright, so...
Well, you weren't lying. You were pretty confident that you were going to come underestimate, and you have.
What is the time?
It's looking like a 1:03:52.
Okay, that's definitely a world record by a few minutes, actually.
Yeah, let's go.
It is absolutely, because I believe the world record was 1:08.
Wow. GG. Yeah, that's a solid 5
And
minute.
if you're a true Ghost Rider gamer, the game will force you to play the demonic mode right away, so you can jump right into that and play a new game plus speedrun, which I will not be doing today, but...
Oh, so what, you start the start of the game with all of the power-ups that you got?
I believe that's the idea. You just started because this demonic mode is unlocked locked at the start of the game. You can only get it if you basically beat the game, and then demonic ends up being kind of the new game plus version of it. You keep all your power-ups, and if you clear demonic 100%, you get the extras, which shows very deep fried versions of the movie footage. I think the screenshots. So if you think that's worth your time, that's something you can do in this game.
Nice. Well, very good. I mean, if there's anything that you want to show off before we do our closing words for this game, you're more than welcome to. But if not, then feel free to do your shout outs.
I mean, I feel like I've shown everything I know about this game, let alone And as far as, let's see here, shout outs. I know a few people have run this game. Rezea, who was the previous runner of this game, shout outs to him. He discovered the skip for the air elemental fights, and he actually did some of the routing for the early game. So shout outs to him, and shout outs to, I guess, the Ghost Rider community. I don't really know if anybody's running those games nowadays. It's not the most active game out there, and I guess hope they remaster this game, or maybe not. I don't know, since it came up already.
We'll start campaigning on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta get the hype rolling. And thanks for having me. So shout outs for organizing this event. I very much enjoyed that run.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I always know that whatever it is, whatever series, whatever franchise you're going to bring on, it's going to be a good time, and there's going to be some nuance to the run. And well, if folks want to help in making the games a little more active, maybe this one in particular, I know they share leaderboards, like this particular game and the different versions. if folks want to try them out, what's the best way for them to do so? Is there a Discord, or can they just kind of learn from what they've seen here today?
I think they can learn from here today, and you can always find me on Twitch under Spectral Platypus or YouTube, and I'm also speedrun.com. So if you send a DM to me, I would be more than willing to help. But I learned all of the tricks by watching the existing world record runs. I don't believe there's a lot of kind of depth that goes into the tricks, so I think this would actually make for a really good first speed game, as it's still nuanced in a way, but I think even if you just pick up the game and do a kind of a like fast playthrough, you wouldn't fall that far from the world record, honestly. And then it's just kind of building blocks from there, right? Learning different nuances of the attacks and the hitboxes and all those other things. But I think this would be actually a fun game to get into for a first-time speedrunner.
Yeah, especially if folks are looking for something that's a little on the longer side. Like it's not like a 2-3 hour affair, but it's a comfy kind of
yeah, I think it's not too long that it would become very boring, because this game doesn't have a lot of happening, but I think 1 hour is just a good enough time. It's a healthy enough dose of Ghost Rider and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, and then you can always, if you felt compelled, you could do like New Game Plus. I don't know whether that's something that's facilitated.
It's
on the
there,
boards,
but I don't believe anybody has actually done a Game Boy Advance New Game Plus. I think the fact that it's kind of combined with all the other platforms erodes the different categories a little bit. Like by definition, I think most people just play the PS2 version, so everything is kind of concentrated around that. I think it would probably be better if this game really got a split leaderboard, but that's how it's been said at the time, and there weren't really any runners of this game previously.
Yeah, it is what it is. But folks, yeah, you've heard it from Spectral. Good first speed game. If you're looking for something to get into, then this might be the thing for you. And of course, go check Spectral out. I can't give my recommendation any more highly, because yeah, he certainly comes up with some quirky games to speedrun, and yeah, definitely worth your time when he's live. And you can also, because of the great function that speedrun.com has added, you can follow him on speedrun.com if you really felt compelled to. And yeah, so that was Ghost Rider. We are now hopping over. I did mention that one of the pieces of music in this game sounded like a crunchy Dreamcast drive. Well, it's not quite the Dreamcast, but we are going to be hopping over to some Sega hardware for our next game. We're going to be going on to the Sega Saturn. Yeah, throwing back to 1998, we're going to be showing off Baroque. I feel like I can't really say that game name normally. I have to really sort of put some plosives into the Baroque. Maybe it's just the English accent, but we are going to be going away with that with Grim Shins after a little break. So whilst there's some music playing, some jams going, just a little opportunity for folks to get up, have a little stretch if you have the capacity to do so. And yeah, just a reminder that your subs, your Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support the Games Done Quick hotfix. And if you enjoyed these speedruns, we've got more to come. We've got 2 other shows after this show. Definitely consider subscribing, because that helps these things happen and keeps us afloat. Yeah, awesome. Spectral, once again, thank you so much, folks. It's going to be a great time, and then we are back with Baroque. See you in a sec. Enjoyed that little break there. Hope you've had a refreshing 5 minutes or so. We are back with Games Done Quick Hotfix and with Going Places. These are either regular shows or one-offs happening throughout the weeks leading up to our various Summer Games Done Quick and Awesome Games Done Quick events. A reminder that Awesome Games Done Quick 2024 is no more than, well, it's a month and a half away, pretty much. So, yeah, definitely lock in. You want to be seeing what the schedule is like over at the Games Done Quick or website if you haven't seen that already. And yeah, these hotfixes, we've had a brilliant one-off just gone past where we raised a considerable amount of money for charity. If you want to see what we've been doing at all, either from today or just earlier on this week, past couple of months, you can catch our YouTube where we upload all of our shows and highlights and all of the good stuff. Definitely check us out, YouTube Games Done Quick. But We got to go big or we got to go Baroque. We are here with Grimshins. We are throwing it over to the Sega Saturn and showing off a game that it falls under for. It's been a while since we've had one of these on the show, but it falls under our region exclusive umbrella for going places, which is always exciting. There's a little bit of nuance to that topic, but I'm gonna let Grimshins show us and take us through this game because I've heard it's a bit of a scary affair when it comes to running, but he's got plenty of time to let us know. Grim, how you doing?
I'm doing well today. Thanks for having me, Hib. This is Baroque on the Sega Saturn, which was released in 1998 in Japan exclusively. There was a remake on PS2 and Wii that did see a US release, but it changed so many things. It changed from first person to third person. The aesthetic's completely different, and most people don't consider it to be as good as the original. Since I don't speak Japanese very well at all, and I certainly don't read Japanese well, we are going to be running a translation patch of the game, so you'll be able to enjoy it in English. Definitely check out the lore to this game. You can find the complete translation that it's based off of over at nervetower.neocities.org. Really fantastic site, goes in depth into the crazy lore of this game that I'm not going to be able to because I'm going to be focused on not dying. Because this is a roguelike, It has permadeath, so if you die, you start over from zero. And I'm going to try not to do that. But without further ado, we'll get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is something that games of this era didn't really have, but really should have, was a brightness control. And we're going to pump that up a little bit. Plus 0.05 there should be good. And
nice to have.
Everything in this game in terms of floor layouts is randomly generated, so not really a great way of practicing anything. Insufficient free space. That's fine. We can just remove this one and let's go ahead and what are we doing? We are going. We are going places, and time starts now, I guess.
Confidence right there.
Yep. So we skip a cutscene to start off with, load into the outer world, and one of the funny things that I love about games of this era is you go faster by strafing. That is something that I always check with any sort of first-person game. There are some NPCs here that we're going to ignore because right now, we are in a simulation, and nothing we do in the simulation matters or affects anything in the game at all. So the fastest way to complete the simulation is to get killed by floating fish. These lovely guys, I believe they're called Moon. Every single enemy in this game is based off of a tarot card.
Okay.
That comes up. I do not remember all of the enemy names, but I will try to point out some stuff when I remember it, gameplay permitting. So right now what's going on is scientists are monitoring some stuff and deciding whether or not we did well enough in the simulation to go attempt to do what we're supposed to do for real.
Well, if folks are interested in the enemies and they want to find out which ones are which, I'll try and keep on top of it because the lovely website that we mentioned earlier that we've got pinned in the chat as well, you can find out walkthroughs about the game, as well as all of the various enemies. So, and it's also beautifully crafted, like we're still in the 90s, which you love to see.
Oh yeah, it's utterly fantastic. Shout out to Gray, the administrator of the site, who did the translation, and to Pliskin, who applied the translation to a patch just earlier this year. So 25 years to play this game in English, but we finally can. So I'm going to go over here. This is Archangel. He tells us some stuff and gives us this rifle. Angelic can kill any enemy in the game in one hit, but we only have 5 rounds of it. So, yeah. And plot reasons, we don't really want to use it. We'll get to that later. So, early on, before I get armed here, just gonna smack some enemies around, get a little bit of experience, level up a couple times on these earlier stages. Got various items. Walking is a fantastic bone. Bones, you gnaw on them and produce different effects, but walking is useful because it will transport us to a random room onside the floor that we're on, which has a good likelihood of taking us straight to the exit for the floor, which is fantastic stuff. Crypt Angel, if we throw things at him, he'll give us items in return. So pretty cool dude. I'd like to find a weapon of some kind. Can bring up the map, give an idea for the layout. This room, why not? Give us a little jump scare, and
lovely.
Somebody who looks suspiciously like the player character is asking us some questions about our past. The player character has amnesia and cannot speak, which, there are reasons for that. I'll try to point them out when I get an opportune moment. All right, this is an exit. We've gone through the first floor here without finding a weapon or armor yet, so that bodes really well. Standard roguelike, you've got both health and vitality. As long as you have vitality, you slowly heal. And if you don't have vitality, you start losing health. You get health by eating flesh. We're going to use this immediately. Trident is a brand or sigil that you put on yourself that gives a random chance of turning your sword into a trident, so you get 3 slashes instead of 1. That'll up our attack significantly. And, exit on this room here. Sometimes bones and various items are unidentified, but I know that the drops from the moons are safe. And I'm going to use Girder immediately, which will duplicate some items, since I've got walking, which is a fantastic bone. And once again, I will encourage everyone who's interested to take a look at the lore to this game, because just watching a playthrough, especially a speed run, isn't quite enough to appreciate it. Most of these low-level enemies are not too bad. This guy, he can spawn other enemies and will occasionally poison you with his lick. But other than that, not too bad. What's really interesting about this game is really the plot is advanced by dying a lot. The game is very difficult. You are supposed to fail. Each time you fail and do another loop of the game, you find out more about it. And the first time I played this, it took me about 15 hours to get through, but we're going to try to do it in under 90 minutes tonight, so fingers crossed on that one. Always fun getting attacked right off the bat. This particular enemy, not too bad. When she lunges towards you, if you strafe backwards, you can dodge the attack. What's slightly more annoying is, well, there's no polite way to say this. If she farts on you, your vision gets obscured and the screen goes dark. We're going to try to avoid that for the most part. Darkness, not really a hugely terrible status effect. It just cuts down the draw distance a little bit.
Can't believe we found Warrior's Dream Woman and Baroque.
Oh yeah.
For the sake of
oh yeah. He's definitely swiping right there. And we've been pretty lucky with the exits so far. What floor am I on? You know what? I'm not going to take this exit just yet because floor 4 has something interesting. If I can find a switch somewhere and turn it off, the lower levels of the nerve tower here will become frozen. And that helps me out a lot. Unfortunately, it's looking like this particular layout might not have that. We will check down here, though, and I've got evacuation, so I can immediately jump to the exit if need be. Okay, let's try not to get hit by the trap I just set off. Oh, this is fantastic. Comet is a worm that can infest either myself or my sword. I'm going to infest myself because I might get a better sword later. It greatly increases the attack speed. So that combined with... Oh, well, I was not paying attention, so that's fine.
Oh, no.
That's fine. Early death. It doesn't matter. I am going to miss the excellent weapons that we had, but it's all fine.
We keep going.
Yep. And right now, Archangel's going to point out the misery of repeating a task over and over again without even knowing why you're supposed to do it.
Oh no. I was gonna say, you can totally see why modern release, newer video games go for this kind of, style of graphics and such, because this is held up pretty nicely. This is a good looking game.
The artwork is really fantastic. All the mechanical design and the puppets were done by an American studio actually called Inertia Pictures, I believe. They're in the opening credits. And apparently they just connected with the director's vision for the game immediately, which is really cool. I love the aesthetic. Awesome. Draws very heavily from... I feel like Alien is a big one. And a lot of the sort of horror movies from that era. So this room's a dead end. We get those fairly frequently due to how the levels are procedurally generated. And A lot of it is just educated guesses about where the exit's going to be. I chose correctly in this instance. And I'm going to go ahead and start throwing rocks at things here. Since that's going to be way more powerful than my unarmed attack. The coffin-like devices that I'm picking up are called torturers. They produce an area of effect attack. They damage or cause other status effects to every enemy in the room that you're currently in. Later on deeper dungeons, that's going to be very important. Not going to risk putting on this coat right now because we don't know the details about it, but I will use the Lucky Worm to increase my chances for critical hits. The music has changed on this floor. We've got a more defined theme here. That's usually indicative of an important NPC that you need to make contact with. I don't need to at this point in the run, so we're gonna just play the level as I normally would. Hopefully, this is a named coat. Yes, grounding gives me resistance to lightning, which is pretty good. And this is just going to loop around. The layouts like to do that. Essentially, every level draws from a certain pool of rooms that can appear on the floor, and we'll place them randomly and connect them with hallways. And that can lead to some amusing results in level layouts occasionally.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, when it comes to the randomness, just how random it is, and that's the basics of it, I guess.
Yes, it is incredibly random, is how I would describe it. Enemy placement, floor layouts. There are certain floors which you have to perform certain tasks, and they always appear in the same place in the dungeon, but they will not have consistent layouts. Okay. We can consolidate our inventory a little bit here.
Nice.
Some pretty good items. And here's a miniature version of Wario's girlfriend there. That one, unfortunately, would be less appealing because it is incapable of flatulence. Only the big ones are.
Incredible, of course.
You might notice that the meat that we're picking up is named things like average or idiot or genius, and there's a very important lore reason for that, which we'll point out in a little bit.
Okay.
Anytime I come across ID bones, which identifies all unknown items, I'm gonna pick those up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and right off the bat, we're in a good part of this. I'm going to start eating some meat, get my health back up.
Tell you what, that is quite a funny video game prompt saying idiot.
Yep.
What is it when you pick up item? What does it say? Idiot equipped or something?
Oh, it's even better than that. You eat idiot.
Eat idiot.
But this worked out well because I found the switch that I needed to throw to freeze the lower floors, and that will persist between playthroughs. So that is a huge, huge advantage later on.
Nice.
Evolution is a fantastic injection. Automatically raises your level by 1, gives you the stat boosts and such. We're going to use that immediately every time we come across it. And aside from not having a weapon, we're in pretty good shape. Pathetic, just awful, flimsy coat, the worst. It only does 1 damage when you throw it at something. Stubborn, on the other hand.
Whoa.
Yeah. This game reminds me a lot of Fatal Labyrinth on the Sega Genesis, if you're familiar with that. Same basic principles in terms of gameplay. Any item that you can equip can also be thrown for ranged damage, and in some cases it'll do more damage thrown than it will just used, which is very, very handy.
Okay.
And speaking of evolution, Sting, the developers of this game, went on to develop Evolution and Evolution 2 Far Off Promise for the Dreamcast, which are also some good roguelike games. We are going to use some of these bones and exchange them for items, see if we can... vulnerable... Not a great item, so we're not going to bother picking it up.
Oh, so that's kind of like a little... The Crypt Angel's a little kind of shop, kind of?
Yeah. The Crypt Angel can give you items. It can remove rot from meat or seeds. Because if you eat rotten meat or seeds, you get a stomachache, which is bad times. We don't want to deal with any abdominal stress.
Mm-hmm. No stummy hurt.
All right, looks like we finally have a sword. Cremation is a pretty good sword, has inbuilt fire attribute. There are 3 attributes. Fire, ice, and electricity. Ice is good against large enemies. Fire is good against, I think, just most living enemies. And electricity is good against mechanical enemies. Dead end, unfortunately. This slender guy in here is called Box Thing. If I had a box in my inventory, I could give it to him, and in exchange, he would give me an item. There are some other NPCs that have similar mechanics throughout the dungeon, but since most of them are not plot critical, we're going to largely ignore them. I think this direction's more promising. That particular enemy, his main attack is just rushing towards you, and I forget which of the tarot cards it's supposed to be based off of, but his design is a little bit phallic. That was intentional.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you get some stuff like that in the game. Glass, you might think, oh, 13, that's a fantastic sword. And it is. Unfortunately, it...
For one hit?
Yep. Well, it breaks when we descend a level or unequip it. So, usually you want to wait until you're at a low level, because we're going down rather than up, because we start at the top of the nerve tower rather than the bottom. So the deeper floors, we want to save it for that. this first run through the tower, there are going to be 13 floors, and the final run through the tower, there will be 21 floors. This enemy, which is the judge, is terrible. He can attack very rapidly, and he has a chance to corrode your weapons, which is not good. I'm going to pick up the ID brand here, and as long as I have this brand on me, I automatically identify all items, so no more guessing about what I've picked up. That is huge in later floors, which likes to give you a lot of unidentified drops, and much like other roguelikes, Fatal Labyrinth, Toe Jam and Earl, etc., it is extremely risky to use an item when you don't know what it is, because you could damage yourself, you could inflict a negative status on yourself, or just all sorts of bad things. But we don't have to worry about that for this run, the remainder of it. Now, the floor that we're on right now, which I believe is 6, there's an important NPC right here named Alice, who, is manifested as a young girl with, her viscera exposed, her insides, and that's okay, because she can't feel pain right now. Hold on to that.
You say right now.
Yes, that Alice is an extremely important character. One of the most important. Okay. But we're not going to talk to her that much because it's not that point in the run yet.
Okay. Goodness knows what's going to happen later on, but I'm readying myself.
Oh, yeah. This room is really comfy to me for some reason. It's got kind of a cool wallpaper, some nice lighting, and enemies who are just rushing towards you. We're gonna increase our max vitality a little bit there, and let's increase our max health too, just for good measure. If you eat some flesh or some seeds while you're at either max health or max vitality, you slightly increase your maximum instead of getting healed. Invincibility, as you can imagine, excellent bone. One of the best.
Yeah.
All right. Lethargy. This is actually a very good worm to infest my coat with, because it will prevent the lethargy status effect from being applied to me, which in a couple floors, around starting on floor 10, going to be pretty useful. Lethargy, as you can imagine, slows down your player movement, and that can be deadly. Oh, these enemies, they look nice and cute, but they rush towards you and they blow up, which is a bad time.
Oh.
And this other enemy can inflict the lust status, which is, well, it's not too harmful and pretty funny. Let's see if, okay. So, now everything is a beautiful woman. Enemies, items, so you can't tell what's going on.
Incredible.
There's a plot NPC over there who I don't really need to talk to right now. Let's go ahead and let's get rid of this enemy, which I believe is the enemy that inflicted the lust on me in the first place. In fact, I know it is because she's using lightning attacks on me. There is a strategy that you can use with Lust, because there's a combination of items that will grant you maximum attack speed when you are under the Lust status, which, if you are planning your build correctly, can be extremely useful. And let's... Oh man. Getting some kind of bad luck with enemy spawns. Whenever an enemy spawns in a hallway, it's typically a bad time. But we'll use a couple of these torture devices and take out the entire room.
You've just got to try and draw them out.
Very much so. Most of the enemies have a pretty tight leash, so you can direct them where you want them for the most part. Twin. If I find another twin box, I can open it up and it will contain usually a sword called Twin, which is unique because you can equip 2 of them. Oh, and now we're back to... this looks like kind of a bad situation, so I'm going to go ahead and use this invincibility bone. Evolution. We're going to open that right away. Use it. Level up. And... proceed down.
Nice. I quite like the effect of the invincibility.
Yes.
Sort of, well, you keep it as well. You keep it between. That's cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot left. Death, which you can probably guess which enemy it is, the coffin with the sickle. He's particularly nasty. He does lightning damage, has a very powerful melee attack. Fortunately, he's also weak to lightning, so if I come across that element, we'll be in good shape. And we're going to go ahead and use another invincibility real quick. You know what? I'm going to add the ice element to my fire sword as well. Do 2 elements worth of damage at once. And just throw box.
Well, it seems like Death doesn't quite know what to do when it sees you strafing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the most powerful move if you're feeling a bit faint. Just start doing some strafing, you'll be fine.
Yes, if Death ever comes for you, just do some sidestepping and it'll be confused.
Works every time.
All right. Little bit of heals here. I've got a lot of evacuation bones right now, so we'll see if Crypt Angel wants to give me something good in return. Guardian raises my defense by 3. Could be pretty good, but I think I'll hold on to my double element sword here. Another ice worm, which could be useful if I come across a fire or actually a lightning worm would be the best, because then I would be able to infest the ice worm with the lightning worm, then infest the cremation sword and do all 3 elements of damage at once. Ooh. Which is exceptionally useful, particularly in later levels where you start to get enemies that are particularly weak to certain elements. You can add 1 worm to a piece of equipment, or 1 composite worm, which is a worm inside another worm. You can also brand certain equipment or yourself. So ideally, you could have maybe 4 status effects applied to yourself at any given time. So you can make yourself pretty strong. Okay, this guy I want to avoid because he can steal items off of you. The red guy there, he will steal them and run away from you very quickly. He's a pain to catch. Let's see what this worm is. Ice again. And we're gonna drop an ice worm and equip the assault wings, which will raise our attack by 4. Our basic equipment are coats are our armor. Wings provide useful effects, and they are literally false angel wings. And swords are our attack. All right, floor 10, which is very obviously frozen right now because we managed to turn off the heater back on floor 4, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And what that does for us is this fruit's going to be safe to eat because it won't be rotten. And a couple other things. There will be some... let's see here. The eyeball injection, if thrown at an enemy, will cause lust, which makes them docile. They won't attack. Very useful. I can do the same thing with the eyeball wings here. Give them darkness. They won't be able to see us to attack. And boy, there's just a train right here. Let's throw a sword at it. And what else can we throw? Throw Desire, which inflicts lust. If you gnaw on the Desire bone, you inflict lust upon yourself, which, again, in certain situations can be useful, but most of the time, you're, not gonna want to mess around with that. Revolution. This is a very interesting item. It will invert the remaining HP and vitality for you and everyone else in the room. So it's very effective if you are at low health and all of the enemies in a room are at high health. Because when you use it, you will go to high health, and the enemies will go down to 1 HP. So I'm going to save that for if I get in a bad situation. Which hopefully I don't. But if things get truly, truly awful... Whoa! Let's heal up a little bit. Oh, paralysis. Not great. It keeps you from moving, but fortunately, not terrible in this situation because we've got some bones that can mitigate the danger here. All right. Floor 11, which will be, again, nice and chilly. This is one of those floors where I just want to get through as quickly as possible. Convergence is a very interesting item. It will converge all enemies and items into whatever room you're currently in. That sounds like a terrible idea most of the time, but if you have an item that's an instant kill item, you can potentially clear out an entire floor immediately.
Ooh.
So we're going to hold on to that. That's a very, very powerful item.
I'm seeing chat are big fans of the interesting prompts that we get from the names of the items.
Yes.
On
Okay.
top left.
This enemy is cute. It sucks vitality from you, and when it does so, it gets bigger. Not too dangerous, because it'll just stand there and it won't do any damage to your HP.
And do you get all your vitality back when you kill it?
Yes.
Or just a little bit?
Yes, you get it all back. Okay.
Nice.
We're still mostly good on health. If I get a little bit lower, I can use Revolution for a free heal. And sincerely hope I'm going towards the exit. That's always a little bit of a crapshoot. Let's see what kind of sword we have here. Heaven and Earth is... I'll hold on to it because it is extremely powerful, but it misses frequently. So it's almost always a bad idea to actually swing it, but if you throw it at an enemy, it does a lot of damage. Okay, so far we are just kind of noodling around here. Oh, that is a reversed recovery. So instead of recovering, it damages me. So that was bad times. Okay. This is something we're going to use Angelic on. Those walls are very powerful. They've got something like 500 hit points. They take a very long time to take out. So we'll use the Angelic Rifle. On this run, it doesn't matter if we use it, so it's safe to use, but on subsequent runs, if we use it, we won't be able to progress the game. So, might as well enjoy it now. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead. Now's as good a point as any to use Revolution, get our health and vitality back up.
Nice.
Get the health of that enemy down, and it was all for a dead end.
Oh.
As happens sometimes. There is a PlayStation 1 version of this game that it's mechanically fundamentally the same, but they make the levels smaller and there are more of them, but it doesn't look as good as the Saturn version. And most of the new content in it is either filler or incredibly grindy. So not a lot of love for the PlayStation version of this game. There's a reason that when they released this game on the Switch eShop, the Japanese eShop, as Baroque Classic, they used the Saturn version because it was the first version of the game, and it's the one that sort of has the biggest fan impact, I guess you could say. And speaking of the game trolling me, there's only one part where the exit could be, which would be the opposite way I went at the beginning of the stage. So I picked the exact wrong door to go through. Yeah, the Switch version is just the Saturn version running in an emulator. So in other news, The Switch is capable of emulating Saturn, which is a notoriously difficult console. But if you're interested in the game and have a Japanese eShop account and want to support Sting, the developers, I would say definitely pick it up. It's a great conversion. And, you know, I hear there's a really good translation of this game available now. Maybe they could be convinced to pick it up. Yeah, if I had gone south instead of north, I would have found the exit immediately.
Well, it's 50-50. Unfortunate.
Floor 12 is very important. It is imperative that I find an NPC named Eliza, who is a young girl covered in surgical tubing who smells strongly of antiseptic, according to the lore of the game. But
bless her.
She is probably the single most important character in the game. There's the exit, which is good. We don't want to take it yet, because I need to find Eliza, but we'll be able to evacuate to the exit immediately, which is nice. I've got a general idea of where Eliza is. Her room is always facing north. The entrance to the room will be on the south. So I can kinda more or less guess where it's gonna be. In this case, though, I think I'm going to get trolled, and this is going to be a massive loop around. But since I have enemies following me, we'll take it. We'll see how it's going.
We were talking about, there being a PlayStation 1 version of this game. Does it... Well, I imagine with it coming out on the Switch and using the Saturn version, does it feel like the game was... sort of most of the time was put into the Saturn version compared to the PS1? Was that
very much
more of an afterthought, or
less of an afterthought and more it became kind of a popular game, and they wanted to put it on, I guess, a more popular platform than the Saturn, because by 1998, even in Japan, the Saturn was fairly niche compared to the PlayStation, which had blown up due to Final Fantasy VII, etc. But yeah, it just lost a little something in the conversion. Let's see here. Yep, so that was a loop around. I think if we head north from the exit room, we might be able to find who we're looking for. Because there's not enough space for it to be west. That's kind of the artistry of running this game, is you have to... Okay, this is the right direction. There's Alice again. She always appears in the room before Eliza on floor 12. The two characters are very closely linked.
Okay.
So here's Eliza. She says, "Please leave. We walk through this wall. Please bring me pure water." Okay, we've got no idea what that means right now, but I assure you that everything will be clear very shortly.
Okay.
And you know what? I can just use evacuation, go straight to the exit. Which is very nice.
Let's go.
And now we are on the last floor of this run. So, evolution, we're just gonna drop that, and we are going to throw it into this sense sphere here, which will transfer it above, so I'll be able to pick it up on the next loop. Oh man, we've got some nasty enemies here, including the most obvious enemy based on a tarot card, the Magician, which is literally a tarot card. Let's see here. How am I going to do this? I'm going to use walking, which will hopefully put me right near the exit. It did not. Let's try one more. It put me in an even worse location, which is how it goes sometimes. I'm going to want a good, strong sword at the beginning, so I'll go ahead and throw that. But here's what we can do here. After I get myself reasonably free, let's find out what this is. Let's go ahead and use Convergence, put everything in this room, and then run away. We are going to run away. Apparently not everything got transferred. We've still got a couple shots of Angelic left, so hopefully the rest of this floor will be safe and we can just run towards the exit. This is quite an interesting layout for floor 13. Normally it's a little more compact. But here we are. At the end here, we can see Archangel's true form. He is impaled on a sense sphere.
Ooh.
And we can throw another item down here. Gonna go ahead and throw these assault wings, because those are good to have. We are going to enter the sense sphere, and Archangel wants us to use the angelic rifle on what we find down here. We're not going to do that, though. Instead, we're going to go through this awesome Phantasy Star 2 battle room, and we're going to gaze upon the god of creation and preservation, who tells us some stuff and implores us not to go mad. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we're at our first major cutscene. This is going to be strange.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And then cataclysmic event occurs.
I could not have told you any any of the next things that would have happened in that cutscene.
Yes. So we find out that we had a twin brother who apparently died, and we just remade the world to die in his place. All right. So Sentry Angel here. He blocks us from entering that room. We want to go there. The way we do that is we go over to Neckthing, who has buried himself. Given enough time, he'll eventually turn into a flower, but that's slow. We need his item right away, so we just kill him. Oh. We obtain his Idea Sphera, which is also known as a type of pure water, and we give it to the sentry here. And we're going to go get eaten by fish again, because that's the fastest way to advance to the next part of the game. Very shortly, how we're able to keep repeating the same series of events will become clear. So once again, let's just aggro as many fish as we can. It's a party, and I'm the main course. So now we start same place once again, only the sentry has buried himself, trying to imitate Neck Thing, and the laboratory is now open. Let me go inside. I wonder what's going on in this laboratory. So this guy tries to lock me in, and we find out, that looks suspiciously like me. What's going on here? Lockdown clone laboratory number 2. So, we're gonna purify ourselves and receive our pure water and escape through the sense sphere.
Oh.
So, we have been playing as clones of ourselves this entire time. And now we have the distilled essence of ourself, which we're going to need to give to Eliza. All right, let's pick up the items that we transferred above.
Nice.
Get a free level up. Get a good sword. Get some good wings. And we're still going to talk to Archangel. He's going to give us Angelic.
Nice.
We're not going to use it at all on this run. This is the final run through the Nerve Tower. But there is an important NPC that we need to meet, and we can give the Angelic Rifle to.
Oh, okay. Wait, is it Alice?
No,
No
it's
comment.
actually not Alice or Eliza.
Okay.
So let's see. Erotic that's actually the brand that when you are in Lust, you will achieve max sword speed and your crit rate will be higher. Could be useful, but Trident, we really like Trident. So we're going to use that. Give us super fancy sword attacks.
Nice.
And got an unidentified brand there, which can be kind of dangerous. We'll just hold on to it for now. So right off the bat, I'm actually in pretty good shape. Let's go ahead. I'll wait until I have a few more items to identify before using that. Now, in a true speedrun, I would just get straight to floor 10 as quickly as possible. But in this case, I think I'm going to try to find Eliza on floor 2 instead of floor 12, because that'll free up an inventory slot. You're limited to a maximum of 20 items that you can carry at any given time, so inventory management becomes pretty important. All right, since it started me right by a hallway, I'm just gonna go here, and we find Eliza immediately, which is fantastic.
Nice.
Our luck is changing. So pure water is needed. We'll give that to her. With this, she's able to birth our egg. And then she just disappears. We're not going to see her again until floor 12. But hey, we've got our inventory slot freed up there.
Nice.
let's go ahead and get some double XP weekend here.
Nice.
Take advantage of taking out some small, weak enemies. Get strong for the horrors that are to come, because past level 13 on this run is it's gonna be a real dice roll as to whether or not I make it all the way to the bottom. But we're in good shape. We're in good shape so far.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, really, we're just go mode until floor 10 right now. So the game would be doing us a huge solid if it would give us the exits quickly. Which it likes to do sometimes, but other times, not nearly so much.
When it's nice.
Yeah.
Now, I would be very surprised if the answer was yes. But does this game have a tool-assisted speedrun tool?
No, I am not aware of too many TASes on the Saturn right now.
You raise a good point.
And a TAS would be very useful for figuring out how the game works mechanically, because if there is a way to manipulate your seed in any capacity, any way we could remove some of the randomness from this game would be a huge boon to running it consistently. I believe the fastest anyone has run this game right now, the any percent category, is somewhere in the range of 45 minutes in game time, which translates to under an hour in real time.
Okay.
They haven't submitted the run to SRC though, so if you look at the leaderboards, I'm still technically at the top of the leaderboard. So what I'm saying is, remember to submit your runs, people. And also, play this game. It's really cool. It's kind of a chill run because most of the speed tech is just in terms of strategy. There aren't any major glitches or anything to learn. It's just how well you can play the hand you're dealt. And yeah, I would definitely like to see those boards fill up. I always like reviewing new runs and seeing what kind of crazy luck people have. Always a good time.
Yeah, when we were on the topic of TASes, I feel like there are a few. I feel like I've seen a few Saturn TASes. There's definitely one of Super Tempo out there, but as
now,
far
there's
as
a game.
For sure, but yeah, when it comes to Saturn emulation, I mean, Sega emulation in general can be a bit of a tough spot. Genesis has got better in recent times, but Dreamcast and Saturn is underloved.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. Let's increase our max health a little bit. I know all Sega emulation is in a far better state than what I remember. Like, I remember, in the days of Gens and Genesis and that sort of stuff, when just even getting the FM sound emulation correct was well beyond the capabilities of the finest programmers at the time, but things have improved immensely. And Saturn emulation, it's in a pretty good spot these days. I mean, there are working Saturn emulators for the Switch used in commercial games, which, I mean, it has to be to a certain level of quality to be in a commercial product. Most of the time. We won't talk about the Genesis collection that was released on the Dreamcast.
Ooh. Yeah.
All right, what floor am I on? 7. Lucky number 7. Not a particularly eventful floor, as most things go. But we've got cool wallpaper room again.
It is pretty. I do get the appeal of this room. It's very nice.
What's unfortunate is there's an entire separate dungeon from the Nerve Tower that you don't see in any percent, but you do see in Deathless. Oh, and this is floor 6. I can't count. We see Alice again. We don't need to talk to her yet, but, it's just comforting knowing that she's there. And we've got a fake wall here. An illusory wall. Dark Souls before Dark Souls. This fruit is rotten, so I'm gonna throw it at that enemy. Give it a stomach ache. I don't think stomach ache as a status is particularly damaging to enemies, but it does lower their defense a little bit. Let's go ahead. Okay, we've got some good stuff. You know what? Let's be spicy. Let's see what kind of sword we have there. Oh! This is an excellent, excellent sword. 2 times per attack, and that combines with our trident, which could potentially give us 6 attacks from 1 attack. And since I can just give myself a full heal. Oh, now would be a good time to point out, why is all of the flesh called things like idiot, average, genius? Well, it's because all of the flesh in this game that you eat is the flesh of your clones that died earlier in previous attempts to get through the Nerve Tower. So it is assigned a ranking of idiot or average or genius based off of how well they did in their mission.
Ah, intriguing.
Yes, so you are quite literally eating yourself.
Now we know.
All right.
Remind me, and for the folks that might have tuned in sort of a little bit later into the run, what was it that that got you into this? I know we've mentioned the translation. Was that what sort of tipped you over the edge to start running it?
Yes, I was vaguely aware of this game prior, and there was a sort of very rough translation available at the time, known as Bastard Baroque, which translated things enough to play the game but not get any of the plot out of it or anything of that nature. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for a full translation of the game. And about 6 months ago, I guess, 7, something like that, the full translation dropped, and I was like, okay, I gotta check this out now. I was in the mood for roguelikes at the time because I had been doing runs of Fatal Labyrinth on the Sega Genesis, and I was like, man, it would be awesome if something like this existed on Saturn. And it turns out it did, and it was just waiting for a translation. So, yeah, just very cool game. Glad that it exists. I would definitely, once again, encourage everybody to look into all the lore behind the game, because it just can't be all shown in a run of it. Like I said, first playthrough of the game was 15 hours for me, and I still feel like I scratched the surface in terms of what this game has to offer in terms of story and everything. Man, we've had a really good streak of luck here with fast exits. Now, we are going to go west. I said we're going to go west as I turn myself around. Because we need to find an important NPC called Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel did some work with creating the angelic rifle, and she's very adamant that you shouldn't use it, and we're gonna find out why. See here. Do I even have a coat right now? I do, but I'm not wearing it. That was kind of silly. Okay, that's the exit, which is fantastic. We'll be able to get there very quickly after our encounter with Guardian Angel. One of the really cool things, and this shows the amount of effort put into the translation of this game, is that on the Nerve Tower site, there is a detailed breakdown of the process of translating it, why certain things were translated the way they were, and justification for it, which is, to me, this is the gold standard of how a game should be translated. It's very academic. It's like, you know, the same sort of notes you find with translations of literature or religious texts or anything like that. Just a truly Herculean effort, which I just, you know, we would be so lucky to have that from every translation, but we don't, which is why it's such a passion project. I mean, just absolutely incredible. I think this room should contain Guardian Angel. Yes. All right. The sense sphere stores memories of my sins. So we'll go through this a little bit. So Archangel, we will begin by taking away God's pain. Going to be pain is a signal that indicates that a repair to the body has to occur. By taking away God's pain, we'll create a sick God that'll be cheerful and positive. We'll stream distorted information through the sense spheres, driving God mad, and once freed from pain, God won't notice as it goes insane. We'll cultivate the pain that has been removed. We'll create beings of pure pain. Why do such a thing? Each cultivation tube will be a bullet that can be fired into God.
My gosh.
Yep. You go too far. This is the moral quandary. So Archangel's plan is to fire bullets made of God's pain at God to basically destroy God so Archangel can become God and create the world in his image. Yeah. Guardian Angel, not super down with that. So what we do is we give her the Angelic Rifle. She gives us a powerful item instead, which will give us some attack up and defense up. And right now, Guardian Angel is asking us to help purify the littles, which are the ammunition for the Angelic Rifle. Because when they're fired from the Angelic Rifle, it destroys anything with just one bullet, but it kills the little inside in the process. And that's a huge moral quandary for Guardian Angel. She is traumatized that she was made to do that, and we're going to try to make it right. So we know that God cannot feel pain right now and is also gone mad. We're going to try to fix that. Okay. So if I were an exit, I think I would be north. How far north? Let's go west a little bit. We've got important things to do. All right. Death. Bone that if you use it, it lowers you to 1 HP, but if we throw it at an enemy, it lowers the enemy to 1 HP.
Ooh.
Resurrection, I believe, just resurrects a dead worm, which is not too useful. And that ended up being completely useless because it's going to loop around. It's going to loop around. So I'm glad that we used 2 death bones. Those would have been very good to have on later floors, but we're just going to slash that idiot real quick. Oh, good. I see some grim chairs in chat. Shout outs to Sega Crew. If you're not following, you should. We're a really cool group of people who put on a lot of Sega related events.
Big vouch, big vouch.
If you like seeing this game and other Saturn games, and games on all Sega systems, in fact, definitely give them a follow. So, I have a sneaking suspicion that the exit may have been to the east in the starting room. Fortunately, there's a whole bunch of ice barriers which are going to slow us down. There's... Oh, man. We're gonna use some invincibility.
Good shout, good shout.
And really, really, really hope that the exit is here.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Nice.
All right. Floor 12. Time to go find Eliza and find out why we gave her the sense sphere. So, let's start off by heading north.
Speaking of Sega Crew, any folks that are familiar with Games Done Quick and the other events that have happened will recognize you from a run that you did. Remind me, what event was it where you showed off?
GDQ 2021, Echo the Dolphin on the Sega Genesis, which is another, completely normal, uninteresting game with nothing trippy going on.
And Sega Crew, and when it comes to that series and the dudes behind it, you've had some love.
Yes, we have done some events with Ed Annunziata, the creator of Echo the Dolphin, as well as producer, director of a ton of popular Sega games like Chacon the Forever Man, both of the X-Men games, X-Men and X-Men 2 Clone Wars. Played a little game, he created a little game you're familiar with called Colibri, where you play as a hummingbird.
I need to be more familiar with it. I really need to play it and actually run it. But yeah, class, absolutely class guy. And yeah, he's been up on your events, which has been awesome to see.
Yes, just very, very cool guy, very genuine, and he absolutely loves that people still play his games to this day. And he's still making games. Really cool title called Space War Arena on the Switch. Definitely check that out if you're into tower defense style games.
Okay.
Yeah, on the last time we had him on Sega Crew, we did some multiplayer matches in which we got completely destroyed because we were playing against the creator of the game, who, as you might imagine, is pretty good at it.
He's all right.
So North ended up being a bust. Here's the exit. We do not want to enter the exit yet, because it is imperative that we talk to Eliza in order to find out what we're supposed to do next. Fortunately, there's Alice, which means Eliza's in the next room.
Nice.
These enemies, kind of annoying. These are called Sun, I believe, based off of the Sun tarot cards. And if you get too close to them, well, you ever see Alien, the face hugger? Yeah, that's what happens.
Ew.
Fortunately, if you don't aggro them, they run away.
Oh, that's good. Ooh.
Unfortunately, it's gonna give me a little squeeze there, but it dies immediately after. That's fine.
It's a little squeeze between friends.
Thank you. I'm able to birth our egg because you gave me your pure water.
Is she going to disappear again?
She is, after a moment, but if we sampled lots of uncorrupted information and spew forth that data, we should be able to restore things to the way they were. That is why we need many sense spheres.
Okay.
And we are going to enter this sense sphere, which contains our memories. And this is going to contain some memories of our twin brother. Turns out we were born as conjoined twins.
Okay.
Two bodies, but only one heart between us. So one of us had to die for the other to live because it wasn't strong enough to sustain both of us. Because of this reason, the Coriel, who were a rebellious faction within Archangel's organization, thought that number 12, that's us, was a perfect candidate to fuse with God, to give God a human voice. Basically, so God could tell us what to do, and, we could communicate and warn God about what Archangel's planning to do. That didn't go so well. Basically, because of our traumatic memories of our twin who passed away when we tried to fuse with God, we rejected it out of guilt. And that created a great cataclysm called the Great Heat Wave, which destroyed the Earth's environment and started causing the distortions that led to the creation of the grotesques. So that's why everyone's kind of mutated. And so in a way, Archangel does have a point. We did kind of cause a global cataclysm, but Archangel has been trying to direct that in order to make the world in his own image. The more you learn about Archangel, you're like, man, this guy is a real jerk. Like, super, super villainous.
I mean, everything makes complete and perfect sense now. I'm glad you've explained it all.
And to add to that, Eliza and Alice are two aspects of God. Eliza is basically represents God's ability to process information, and Alice represents God's ability to feel pain. So we've restored God's ability to process information, heal corrupted data, and that sort of thing. But God doesn't have any way of identifying that damage because it can't feel pain right now. So we need to purify the littles and give that to Eliza. Not Eliza, give that to Alice, who will then be able to feel pain, and pain is a signal of damage. Once she's able to identify damage, be able to fix things. Like I said, I'm doing a pretty poor job of explaining the lore. It goes very, very deep. Definitely check out the Nerve Tower website for detailed analysis of all of what's going on. But what's cool about this game is in this post-apocalyptic world, there's actually a lot of hope. And speaking of hope, I really hope that I can finish this. How are we doing on time right now?
Let us have a look. We are at the 123.50. We're about to hit 124.
Okay. Yeah. We should be pretty good. Floor 15 is the next major floor. So we'll try to get through 14 as quickly as possible here. Important upcoming floors, 15, 16, then it's just a run to floor 21. So we're very close to go mode.
Nice.
And Hib, I just want to thank you for having me on and letting me demo this game. It is extremely bizarre, but I really like it. And I hope that somebody else watching has been interested enough to say, hey, I'd like to pick that up. Because in a lot of ways, it hugely influenced the sort of mystery dungeon genre, and just it never had an audience outside of Japan because it never was released outside of Japan, didn't have a translation. So just really cool game.
Would you be happy to see New Runners even if it was on the PS2 and the Wii release?
It's a fairly different game. In broad strokes, it's same sort of concept. It's third person instead of first person. And the art style was turned into a more kind of generic anime art style. It's less dark and gritty. It doesn't have quite the same atmosphere.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I can see why. Because that's one thing that's quite sort of fun and appealing about the Saturn version. Quite sort of stripped back, quite raw.
It appealed to the Saturn's strengths in a lot of ways.
For sure, yeah.
Oh, please get out of the exit. No! Okay. This is a particularly terrible enemy based off of the Lover's tarot card. It's kind of two people merged together in an embrace, and it latches onto you, and it's just scary. Okay. We gotta hunt down the littles here. This door won't open if you have fired the angelic rifle at all on this run, because the littles won't trust you because you hurt littles there. So they're contained in the vats. We're gonna purify them. And we are going to obtain their crystal. Let me make sure. Okay, I need to free up some inventory space.
Well, I've also got to say my thank yous for you for being up for showing off the game. It's been an interesting episode when it comes to the games that we've had on, but I know that it's a Saturn game, an Origin exclusive one. It's gonna be good fun, and I know that any game that you're running, you're putting some passion into, and it's going to be a good showcase. And there's been some strong love for it in the chat, for all of the sort of ridiculousness that this game has in it, and and for you and for what's going on. A lot of love for the chair, as we've seen in the emotes. But yeah, I know we've talked about the different versions of the game and how you can get it. But if folks did want to get into speedrunning it, I imagine your recommendation would be the translation that we've had pinned in the chat.
Yes.
But, any other sort of words of advice that you'd give potential budding Baroque runners?
I would say when you're learning the mechanics of the game, you're going to die a lot, which is good. That's supposed to happen. Let's go ahead and... I think this is my best chance for survival. Just getting these guys down to low health.
Have 3 of them. Ooh.
Yep. 3 of the Venus flytrap looking ones. But fortunately, the Revolution torture device came in handy there. We're definitely going to pick up another one.
There's another one, yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Let's go ahead. So, we've got the exit. That's great. All we need to do is find Alice. Hopefully she's in a room nearby. I always have bad luck with floor 16, because Alice likes to, she likes to hide in far-off corners. Oh. Fortunately, I'm not too scared right now. We have... I'm going to go ahead and use the nutritive, which is a full heal. Got a dead end here. Let's... get rid of those. Oh. Yeah. That enemy is interesting. He's kind of made of water droplets and can teleport around. Likes to throw bouncy balls at you. Let's identify some stuff. Okay, Anonymous is usually pretty bad, so we'll drop that. We don't want to go through the exit just yet. This entire playthrough will have been for naught if we go through the exit before talking to Alice.
Definitely not a run to lose focus on, I can imagine.
Yes. Because I have been on like world record pace for this game and accidentally advanced to the next level before.
Oh no.
Yes, and you can imagine how well I reacted to that. This is truly a bizarre... This is a bizarre level layout. It's very linear in terms of corridor. Oh, there's Alice.
Hey.
All right. So, here's the littles. I feel horrible. Well, yes, I imagine that pain would feel horrible to somebody who hasn't experienced it before. I'm in agony. Well, that's good to know. With this, we can suffer and we can grieve. All right. Believe it or not, that's a good thing.
Yay!
Yeah. Yay! We can feel pain again. So now, through Eliza, God has the ability to repair damage, and through Alice, God has the ability to identify damage. So now it's just, straight on to the end of the game. Through really densely packed dungeons with very strong enemies. So keep your fingers crossed. These enemies are not too bad. Their main thing is inflicting darkness upon you, which, as we know, is not the worst status. They are based off of, I believe, the knight in the tarot deck, which is why they have horse legs.
Okay.
Assault, raise your attack by 2. And I don't have a worm right now, so that's just pure damage bonus. I will take it. The one thing I will say is we're a little light on healing items right now. I basically have hope, which is good. Oh, I can't throw things at that particular enemy because he's made of liquid. Yeah. Just goes right through him. I do think that the fact that he attacks you with a bouncing ball is kind of endearing.
Yeah.
Like most of these enemies, while they're horrific looking, some of them have this weird kind of playfulness to their design.
A cute quirk.
Yeah. All right. Oh! This guy, the tank, who is based off of war, obviously. Not too terrible, does a lot of damage, but you can circle strafe around it. And of course, the exit was one room in the direction I did not go.
Oh well, we move.
All right, let's we're gonna go ahead. Full heal. There we go.
Nice.
Dead end, of course. But this could be a good torturer. It's not, but it could have been. Storm is interesting. It just blows all of the enemies away from you, which in a large room with a lot of space to move around can be useful. Or if you're blocked by an enemy in a corridor, it can open up the way, but it's not like Convergence or Heart are one of the really useful ones.
Oh, we're getting some tragic jokes in the chat at the moment.
Well, I see that No Diggity One is in chat, so I wouldn't expect anything less. In fact, I would be disappointed if... Shout out to No Diggity One. He is kind of the backbone of tech for Sega Crew. Set up the ingest server that we use. Just really good guy. Has also hosted Sega Crew Live, which is a pretty cool event that we're looking forward to doing again in 2024.
Nice. Ooh.
Yeah, this is... I actually want to draw this enemy into this room because then I can use paralysis, give all of them the paralysis debuff. Come on, just a little closer. A little closer.
He's getting that. Ooh, that's a lot of enemies.
Yep. Okay. Come on. Come on. Perfect.
You've
Perfect. I can work with this. Okay. Let's run.
Nice. Let's hope it was worth it. We're going the right way.
It's the only way that I can go, so it's got to be the right way. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Okay, 3 more floors and we're done. Oh. So the enemies on this floor are truly horrible. The twins who are tied up in yellow tape there can inflict confusion, which randomizes your movement inputs. It is the very worst thing that can happen. Just very bad overall. Gonna just gnaw on some kind of trash bones to get some slight health recovery. Oh, that's a dead end.
And are there any themes to sort of room structure, or could the exit just be in any room at any point?
The exit can be in any room.
Oh no. You can't even sort of like memorize layouts and you're like, okay, I might expect to see it here. Or
exits tend to be centrally located. They don't frequently end up in the edges of the map. So if you head towards what looks to be the center of whatever floor you're on, that's a good start. Unfortunately, there can be many, many paths to the center. The good news is that the last couple of floors in the game tend not to be quite so sprawling. They're usually... Oh yeah, we'll infest our sword with Comet, which raises our attack speed, so we are a very fast slashy swordsman right now. Okay. If things get dicey, I do have Revolution, so I can take out the room pretty quickly. I really would like to save that for the final floor, though, in case I need it. And can we get a shout out for chat right now? They have been showing this game so much love. I love to see the enthusiasm about sort of quirky games like this, sort of lesser known stuff, particularly on a console that just didn't get a whole lot of love in these parts of the world.
Yeah. Shoutouts to chat and shoutouts to Funky Games for Funky Consoles. It's one of the main things why this show ended up starting, which is, yeah.
I'm
Love to see this
continuing
sort of thing.
my tradition of
Oh no.
if there's a fork in the road, I'll just take the wrong one. So right now I'm feeling a little bit like George Costanza, you know, every instinct I've had in my life is wrong. So I need to start doing the opposite. So if I come across a fork and I'm like, I should probably go this way, I'm going to go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I'll draw the line at dressing myself in velvet, though. Not going to happen.
Oh.
Oh, this guy, we're gonna draw him out of this hallway. That's a particularly nasty enemy. He creates giant icicles, ice spears that flings at you with, oh, okay. That's a fantastic torturer.
Ooh.
Carrion is an instant kill for all enemies in the room. It turns them into rotten flesh, basically, which isn't great if you're trying to heal yourself, but if you're just trying to survive, it's fantastic. So I just need this guy to come out a little further. Sneak around him. Oh, and of course there's another. You know what? We're gonna use Revolution and get rid of it immediately. So we know which way the exit is now, fortunately. Okay. So, as long as, fingers crossed, floor 20 isn't too bad. Okay. We're in okay shape. There are some nasty, nasty enemies here. These guys, who I believe they're called Hana Nip. Hana for nose and Nip for pinching the nose. They attack you with cymbals. So imagine your nose pressed between two cymbals, and let's go, because
Let's go.
we are on the final floor here.
Was that against your instinct?
That was against my instinct. So we're
Well,
starting
there we
to learn. And there's only one direction that we can go out of this room, which is wonderful.
Good start. Good start.
We have a nutritive, which is an instant heal. This is fantastic. I'm going to try to go around this guy because I don't want to go to the twins at all.
That was nicely done.
If this is another assault, we'll use it. Why not? Raise the attack power of my sword. This is so good. If this stays completely linear, this is going to be amazing. Oh my god. This is like...
gosh.
Oh, the game is finally throwing us a bone.
This is how you sell it to people. You're just like, oh yeah, the game's always this kind.
Yep.
It's so easy to speedrun.
All right. We just need to sneak around this guy and... Oh, let's go ahead and use Carrion. And there's the end. We're going to go in the sense sphere one last time. We get to see the really cool Phantasy Star 2 basement again.
Nice. Very pretty.
And now We are going to merge with God, and that is time.
GG.
All right. So, a little bit overestimate, but that's how it goes with this game. I wish I could explain what's going on with this ending cutscene. It's weird. Basically, what happens is you learn that the distortions in the world kind of started because of God's delusion that things needed to be fixed. But it turns out that in the end, God decides, you know what? The world, even with its imperfections and everything, is actually pretty good. It's pretty all right. Like the world. Which I think is a pretty hopeful message overall, you know? And the important thing is Archangel, the jerk antagonist of the game, basically ends up impaled on a spike for all eternity. So his plans failed.
Well, there we go. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, very nicely done, Grim. I know it's nice that the game was, was cooperating a little bit more with you near the end. But
yeah.
it's a good show of sort of not everything. I'm sure there are still things that surprise you when you do runs, but you got a wide sort of array of what to expect from Baroque speedrunning. If anyone is interested, if anyone's interested in more of what you do, the occasional stream, whereabouts can they find you and your work?
Twitch.tv/Grimshins. You'll often find me speedrunning games about dolphins or various other Sega stuff. You can also find me frequently over on twitch.tv/Sega Crew. We do a lot of events, including there is going to be a race coming up real soon. Might be the Sega 5G
Game
tomorrow, I believe, actually. I could be wrong about the schedule, but check it out. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on, and hope everybody enjoyed this lovely, mad little game.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. I've certainly had fun. We've already said it before. Chat had a lot of fun, and yeah, folks, that has been Baroque. That has been Going Places for this evening. But do stick around, because Games Done Quick Hotfix is nowhere near done for this evening. We are, of course, going to be throwing over to Grudge Match after we've wrapped up here very, very soon. They're going to be having, grudge matches between gamers showing off Coral Cove for PC, recent game, and then throwing it over to Super Castlevania 4 for the SNES. Then after that, there will also be Parallel Universe. So, whole load of stuff to enjoy this evening. But that is it from us. Big thank you to Spectral Platypus as well earlier, who showed off Ghost Runner, and of course Grimshins showing off Baroque. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, if I can think of a good show to put together around Christmas. But if not, enjoy your Christmases, everybody, and enjoy what we have left on Games Done Quick for the year, and we'll see you at Awesome Games Done Quick 2024. See you soon, folks.